everybody, and welcome to the Elseworlds Exchange. I'm Sal.
I'm Joel.
And we're going to be talking today about superhero families. It was a veritable tractor pull of trying to figure out what the hell we were going to talk about today, and then it hit me like a bolt from the blue. Hey, let's talk about like superheroes and their families. This is more of like a you're welcome to certain members of the population slash Elseworlds people. I don't know what we call Elseworlds fans that aren't specifically ComicPOP fans, so we'd have to come up with something.
Elsie's, Exchangies.
Else Trotters? No.
Ooh, Else Trotters. I like that.
Let's see if they like it.
I think you got that in one. Else Trotters. Hey there, Else Trotters. Hey, Elseworld Nation.
Yeah, hey, Elseworld Nation, what's up? But a lot of our fans are fans of, like, superhero families, superheroes having a family, and it's also something that, like, which is ironic given the fact that, like, comic book publishers are, like, terrified of them.
Yep. This was a topic that came around in a couple ways. You know, like you said, you wanted to do the superhero family because there's a lot of good movement happening with superheroes and families right now in the comics. Also, I know I've been kicking around a Sidekicks episode since forever, and I know another fan asked for something similar. So there we go. That's how we picked our topic this week.
It's true. It's true. We will get to the sidekicks eventually. I don't want to do just like jilted sidekicks though. I want to be like, let's do all the sidekicks and just see who came out on top or whatever our conversation winds up getting to. Somebody said, Fat Snorlax suggested Elseworld Observers, which I really like.
Ooh, that's also good. Or Elseworld Explorer.
Ooh, I like that one too.
Like explore the world.
Yeah. Okay, so today we're talking about superhero families. You know, it's funny because, like, all right, so Superman and Batman both have families now. Like,
they have kids, yeah.
But we could also say that, like, Batman, for example, has had, like, a Bat family
for a long time.
Since 1940 when Robin was introduced.
And he's only been growing it ever since.
Exactly. Starts out with Robin. Yeah, it really starts out with Alfred. And then grows it from Robin and Batgirl, and then if you count all the stuff pre-crisis, like Batwoman and Ace the Bat Hound. And,
you beat me to it. I was going to say, what about the pets? What about all the Bat pets?
Right. You also have like the alternate future versions of Batman with Batman 2 and Robin 2, which is Batman and Catwoman's children or whatever.
Huntress, in that universe.
Yeah,
Huntress is their daughter.
A lot of family going on there. Most of it, of course, alternate reality, but like let's keep it relegated more or less.
If we do Elseworlds, we could be here all day on the Elseworld Exchange.
But I will mention, we will get to a family that like technically doesn't exist, but we'll get to them eventually. But like,
the chat just reminded me too. Bat Cow, yes, Bat Cow, and all those other pets are extended members of the Bat family.
Yeah, but we're in a world right now where like Superman has a son, and it's like, I guess we're going to do that now. And we literally got rid of our young, hip, single Wonder Woman sleeping with Superman in exchange for an older, wiser father, husband, married Superman.
I know, right?
And how that kind of, for everybody, seems to be flying in the face of editorial mandate. Like, no, got to keep him young, got to keep him hip.
People are loving it. This is the hottest the Superman book is, and I don't even know how long Superman is must-read now for the first time since the New 52 started.
I literally just picked up, I guess, Superman number 4.
Yep, came out today.
And it was really good. It was, the art kind of took a dive, but from the last issue. Last issue was just everything I wanted. This issue was everything tonally and conversation and story-wise that I wanted. Art was like meh, but
that's unfortunate.
But the story of like Superman with a son is an interesting one, and it's like, where can we go from here? Because
Superman assuming the role of Clark Kent, telling his son that this S is your legacy, the thing you will inherit from me one day. To which I'm sure Supergirl in the background is like, hey, what about me? I'm your cousin.
Exactly. Superman's had a family before. He's had Supergirl. He almost adopted Christopher Kent from Zod back during the last Son of Krypton story. Even
he adopted another Zod during the Justice League Beyond 2.0 thing, where they kind of did their own little spin on Superman adopting the son of Zod. That was a great story,
exactly.
too.
But the story, it's funny. I remember like people saying, well, a married or a family superhero is boring or it's uninteresting or we can only tell a certain number of stories. Well, the stories they're telling right now with a Superman with a son and a wife are pretty damn interesting and kind of fun. Yeah. And it's also slow. And I don't mean like
very.
It feels slow. Like I mean like we're maybe one day in this adventure still, and it's it's just nonstop action and adventure around every corner.
What I dig is they let you have your cake and eat it too, where the Superman book has become about Superman, the family man, his son, the goings on their farm, him trying to, raise his son to be essentially his new sidekick, his new everything.
Yeah.
And then Action Comics lives up to its name and is all about the action and Superman keeping the peace in Metropolis. And yet his son is still a huge part of that book too.
It's true.
If you read the last issue.
Yeah, we literally put the action in Action Comics with like dropping Doomsday, and I guess it's post-crisis Doomsday. Like,
Yeah,
I guess it's pre-Flashpoint Doomsday.
Oh yeah, it's the one he remembers. It's the real deal, which of course begs the question: how the hell did he get here?
Yeah, and what else is left? That's like, for me, I don't really care about Doomsday. He's not very interesting. He's just a stupid.
But what
device.
else could come through? What precedent does this state?
Yeah, but what else came through? What else made it? Especially, for me, I was like, when they were like, no. The New 52 is the universe you remember. It's just that, things changed. Like, time changed it. And then they're like, oh, no, actually, it's an alternate reality. All the stuff that you liked was over there. Like, it's... But in any case, like, superhero families. As a kid, and being a fan of comics and superheroes, did you care, notice, or have a problem with, like, older superheroes, if there were any, during your recollection?
No, not at all. I was always really for it. I know. Again, like you always said, that idea, this, quote unquote, writer's wisdom, smart person wisdom, where it's like young people don't want to read stories about old people. They want, they want point of view characters they can believe in, and, characters who, they can see themselves in. Ironically, that was a lot of the thinking behind, let's do Batman Beyond, a sequel to Batman the Animated Series.
Yes, they were really high on that idea, more so than the Batman the Animated Series, like, adventures. Like, after they made everybody a triangle, they were like, yeah, that's cool, but, like, can we get Batman? Like, a young Batman? Like, we want, like, a Spider-Man Batman. And it was like...
And they did the smartest thing by keeping Bruce in it and keeping him, a curmudgeonly old man. I was as interested in seeing the adventures of old man Bruce as I was, Terry. Heck, I think, if I can remember correctly, it took me a while to warm up to Terry, actually.
Very much so for me as well. I was
always like, what was old man Batman doing?
Yeah, I was watching it for Batman. Like, for real Batman, waiting for real Batman. Nothing pleased me more than that episode with Ink when she returned.
Oh, yeah.
Then when Bruce Wayne came to battle her to rescue Terry, and he put on
a freaking Dark Knight Returns war suit.
And like, what's funny? Like, these guys, like Alan Burnett, Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, these guys are such nerds for their own continuity. Bruce Wayne wore a disguise to get into the arena. Did you notice that it was the freaking Gray Ghost disguise?
Yep.
I was
so
like,
good.
These guys know what they're doing. But anyway, families. Like, it's actually funny. Batman Beyond became a book about family. Like,
it did.
Terry more or less or a show about family, where Terry became, spoilers for a show that's over 20 years, but where Terry became
the
Bruce
adopted
Wayne's
child of Batman.
He became his biological
the actual child later on, yeah.
But like, he became the inheritor of the Bat family, or the Bat mantle, and how like Bruce Wayne was all about, like, it's funny, like, what a loner character Batman is, and yet how surrounded he is by support and family and friends.
It is true. Oftentimes he becomes a hypocrite, where he's like, no, I need to distance myself from the family. I'll only hurt them. I need to be, light, and I need to be my own man and everything. But, also come back and help me occasionally.
Right. Like, look in his Batcave, and you're like, okay, so we've had 5 Robins. We've had several Batgirls, if you count like Cassandra, and you count like I guess, like, even Huntress was a Batgirl for a little while, but, like, Huntress was a member of the Bat family. I mean, an extended family.
You start counting the extended family. It's like, well, do the Birds of Prey count in that, too? What about Batman Incorporated?
Right?
Part of the Bat family. Look, if you've been in the Bat Cave, you're part of the Bat family.
Exactly. If Batman can page you specifically, you're a member of the Bat family, which means the Justice League is also a member of the Bat family.
Do you think Batman has like a friends and family cellular plan for like people who he needs to talk to? Whereas like, look, El Gancho, look, Talon, you get put in the phone. I trust you.
Oh, no doubt. I'm sure that there's like a dedicated server, like a dedicated like plan So there's no traffic, there's no garbage. It's all dedicated satellites for like 12 phones and the whole planet. Yeah. Oh no, Wayne Enterprises has like a BT&T like kind of program.
The best cellular plan ever. Can you hear me now? Indeed.
Yeah, I can hear you anywhere, anytime.
Under the ocean, in the Sargasso, I can hear you anywhere, everywhere.
On on Apocalypse through a boom tube, I can hear you.
I can hear you. And that's how good the coverage is. It's this much coverage.
He probably just uses probably just reverse engineered New Genesis technology into a phone plan.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, I was bored. I was tinkering around with this mother box. Now you get ultimate cellular coverage.
Yeah, once he found out there was a mother box, there's no way Batman didn't get one and then reverse engineer it into his own tech. In fact, they need to fucking do that, where Batman's Batman's literally in a death trap, and he's just and he gets out. He's just behind the Riddler, and he's like, I got you. And they're like, how'd you do that? And he's like, nah, because I'm fucking Batman. He pimps off. But then, he goes back to the Batcave, and Robin's like, no, how did you do that? And he's like, boom tubes.
But when they do that, what they need to also bring back is the actual red Batman phone from the Adam West era. He just has that in the cave, and that's what he picks up to call everybody, because no one expects the red phone.
No one's gonna unplug it or mess with it. I like the idea also that it would be a wireless, but it's one of those heavy corded phones with one button that lights up. I just pick it up and it calls them.
You can call anybody.
What are some other superhero families that you just immediately think of / are kind of this defines the character. This is important.
For me, obviously, and it should come as no surprise to anyone, I'm a gigantic Green Arrow fan, and the Green Arrow family has always been a big thing to me. Ollie, Dinah, Roy, back when he was there. What is it? The other Speedies, I guess, frickin' Diggle now, who they've made a member of it. Against my wishes, I might add. I didn't ask him to join the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you didn't clear it through me. But
you didn't clear it through me, the fan, and then to also go back and retcon his history and be like, no, Diggle was here first. Diggle was the first member of the Green Arrow family. Everybody else came out. His sister now, that's interesting. We talked about Batman and Superman becoming fathers. Yeah. Well, Ollie became a big brother and also surrogate father to a kid.
It's interesting to see this expansion into Queen's life, because I've never really known Queen to be a loner as a casual fan of Green Arrow. Despite the fact that it's whenever you see him, it's always Green Arrow, it's just me.
But he's a very social animal. In fact, I think when he gets alone, that's when he gets the most destructive. He needs other people there to prop him up.
Whenever they screw up Green Arrow, it's because they kill off the family or divorce him or get him out of there. He's separated from Black Canary. It's always a bad scene. He's just a miserable wretch of a person, and then he gets his arm cut off.
Damn right he does, and it's horrible. Connor too, everyone. His son, Connor Hawke, he was the first Superman or superhero to find out that he had a son he never knew about.
Yeah. It's funny, DC, for all of its bluster, because I remember hearing a story back when Joe Quesada became editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics. He was back when I used to work for DC, all they could talk about was unmarrying Superman. And so it's funny, because we all have this idea that Marvel editorial hates families and hates marriage, but apparently DC had a real wild hair with their ass about it for a long time, from, I guess, the Lois and Clark New Adventures of Superman days. So it's kind of funny to see how many DC characters have a family.
And it's not even it's gone away, even to just recently when when Hayden Blackman left the Batwoman book, because they're no, we don't want Maggie Sawyer and Batwoman to get married. No, it's not because they're gay, it's just because we don't want them to be happy.
Trust me, if one of them was a guy, we would definitely still be screwing with it. And it's why?
It's that's horrible no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny where they're we can't let them get married either. And it's because of all the rich, sexy, independent Batwoman stories you're going to be telling.
I know, right?
Or Maggie Sawyer stories you're going to be telling.
I know, right? The idea of getting them married makes it even more interesting.
It creates tension. It creates drama.
It's a nice evolution for them.
Yeah, it's what stories are made of. It's for many. If you ask any person over 25, hey, is marriage death? While they might be haha, yeah, they'll also be it's not the end. Certainly, this is not this is one chapter in my life, and it's a significant one. It's not a funeral.
People get married, they grow together, they grow apart, and if you truly believe that that's the essence of drama and everything, and drama is the essence of good storytelling, then you shouldn't be afraid to take that plunge.
Exactly.
I mean, heck, to use an example outside the big two, Invincible, didn't he get married and have a family and move to space and a bunch of other stuff?
Invincible has a huge family. That's the Grayson family. Those guys are like that's Invincible's a funny book because it's literally the definition of doing the opposite of what the big two were doing when it came to superheroes and evolution, where they were like Invincible went through reboots, but only in as much as like the world was so different from what it was when they started, but it was all in continuity. It all went in one linear order, and they were not. Kirkman was not afraid to be like, let's do this shit. Like, let's really add to this whole mythos and have these characters like grow together, grow apart, die, get married, move on, have kids, like really, stay dead. Really like do the whole real world thing without going full Alan Moore with it when it came
deconstructionist to superheroes are bad and will be the end of the world.
It's funny, not a lot of people are like, I only hear a few people being like Invincible, but I'm like, that's a good example of like if you hate what DC and Marvel do with relationships, like Invincible's a good example of seeing what would happen if they didn't do that, like because there's very few examples. I think Animal Man is one of the other few examples of like a character that's always had a family, and like
that's a great example of them being super, not only just a family but a super grounded family too. Like they weren't super well in New 52, the daughter had powers and everything, but that didn't end up going anywhere because they canceled the book prematurely. But so much to the point too that in one of the best Animal Man stories, they kill his family and Animal Man pleads his case to Grant Morrison directly to bring them back.
And that was, by the way, before like Final Crisis. It was a long time ago, and Grant Morrison was just like, I think the ultimate decision of that conversation was like, yeah, you know what, like you deserve happiness, and he's like, okay, and so at the end of that issue, he just gets his family back.
Yeah, because family makes him stronger and makes him a better character and helps differentiate him from everyone else. And in the ultimate meta sense, from one of the ultimate meta writers, he's like, yeah, you're right. You should have your family back.
Exactly. It's probably how Grant Morrison like hashes out story. Actually, he probably does like take some fucking peyote and then like has a literal conversation with his characters and say,
the characters talk to me, man. They tell me what their adventures are.
And he's just like, what do they do? Like, what do you think I should do with you? Where do you want to go? They're like, I don't know, man. I'm not real.
And that's why his stories are either super great or super what the fuck did I just read?
Exactly, because sometimes he's got the tape recorder on and sometimes he doesn't.
I'm reminded of that Seinfeld bit when he like writes what he thinks is a hilarious joke half awake while watching a terrible B movie, then tries to read it back later. And he's like, what does any of this mean?
Yeah.
And he tries to get other people to read it, and other people are like,
I don't know what this means. Yeah, exactly. Another like cemented family in comics that I've never given a shit about. I only know this character in the context of being part of this legacy family, and I've never given a shit. And every time that anyone's ever tried to portray it in any way, I like go, okay, let's see it, and I go, I don't give a fuck about this. Is the Marvel family, and I don't mean like Marvel's first family. I mean Captain Marvel / Shazam, and Mary Marvel and all that crap. I've never given a crap about that.
I don't know much about them either. I know they've gone through some reworkings, like in the New 52. It's like, well, what if either, his extended family from the orphanage and everything, and that's how they all hang out and know each other. And I'm like, okay, making it kind of Dickensian, making it kind of Oliver and Company.
Mm-hmm. Well, because even, what was it, like their uncle was not like they only called him their uncle, but like he was just a creepy old man who hung out with them, like
which wasn't skeevy at all.
Yeah, you could totally do like a whole Oliver Twist thing with him, but like
you can trust me. Well, he always was a schemer too. That was the thing. He was like shitty Uncle Dudley Marvel.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I've never given a shit about the Shazams. They've never been interesting to me. But by the way, like, but what's funny is that anyone at editorial will be like, that's because they're a family and like they're together and it's like they're happy. Like, no.
I like Captain Marvel Shazam in theory, but I can maybe only point to like 2 or 3 stories I've read and where I'm like, that's a really good story with him in it.
Yeah. that list is very, very short for me.
He's an amazing supporting character and stuff. They got a great Justice League episode out of him. He's an amazing supporting character in Young Justice.
Yeah, when he is out of continuity or he is used as a plot device, he is fantastic. Like in Kingdom Come, he is a perfect allegory for all kinds of things. But whenever someone's like, hey, you want to pick up the next Shazam? And I'm like, no.
Which is why he's never really been able to hold on to a book, and despite Jeff Johns trying super hard, he never got like a new solo series.
And the fact is, it's funny, like this is kind of like editorializing a little bit, because like we're talking about families, and I'm talking about like how crappy Captain Marvel is, but like the fact is, he's just a Superman ripoff that DC acquired from a lawsuit against the company that owned him.
Fawcett trying to bury them.
And so, at the end of the day, he's a magic Superman.
But he was more popular than Superman at one point, so people must have seen something in him.
Yes, 100 years ago, they did.
Hey, he had the first ever movie serial. That's pretty good.
I did. I've seen those serials.
They're all on YouTube. Yeah. That's got to be an Elseworld commentary.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a full-on MST3K show.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, you need to get our little silhouettes down in the corner.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's a family that I can never forget about, and it's because I'm a child of the 90s, the Summers family.
Yes. Another family that has really fallen on hard times and has kind of been pushed to the side.
Yeah. Back in the 90s when X-Men ran everything, it's funny, it's literally the opposite now, but like back in the 90s, we had the Summers, we had, Scott and Alex and Jean Grey, and there might have been a third Summers brother, and it might have been Gambit, but it wasn't. It was lame.
There is a third one now, and isn't he like some super powerful space D-bag?
Yeah, he really sucks. I think he was in War of the Kings and other such nonsense. He sucks.
I love whenever he shows us, like, I'm the third Summers brother. No one talks about me that much. I don't get invited to Christmas dinner.
I'm totally boring and lame. Also, Corsair, his spacefaring father, who's also
cool ass space pirate dad with his furry girlfriend.
Yeah, way cooler than anything that they do on Earth. But and of course the alternate children. You got Rachel Summers, then you got like Nathan Gray, and you got X-Man, and you got Strife the clone, and you got, there's so much drama,
so much soap opera.
It's so funny how they were like, okay, so Scott Summers is a really cool, independent leader character for the X-Men, and he has a crush on this girl, Jean Grey, who is boring, and so does Professor X, but let's ignore that for a little while.
Because it's creepy.
And then they were like, okay, let's get him married. And they go, yeah, that makes sense, because we're never going to tell stories about Scott Summers, dating. Who cares? Moving on. And then from there, like, Claremont just went nuts.
Yeah, you did.
It built up like a ridiculous family tree that, like, when you put it all together, you're just like, why? Why did you do all of this? But it's inexorably tied. Like, the Scott Summers is inexorably tied to family and what that means, and literally, he is the definition of that family is the definition of dysfunction.
Oh God, I was gonna say, while we're on the X-Men front, I would argue most of their families are pretty damn dysfunctional. Yeah. What about the Magneto family?
Oh, the Magneto family, yes, of course. Well, what about them? Because they don't exist anymore.
Not anymore, but they do. But they totally do. And the second they settle the legal disputes, they will
fix
again.
That shit.
They are truly Shakespearean, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I always love that idea. I was always a big fan of the idea of, like, Magneto had these children and he tried to indoctrinate them into his thinking, and then they rejected him and then joined the teams that he fought against, and then they were the only mutants that were okay to be on Avengers teams that weren't named Hank McCoy, and then they built up a legacy of literally being mutants and being never on any X teams, and occasionally someone like Peter David would pull on them and use them, but for the most part they were Avengers. I loved the idea of these two mutant characters being Avengers and also having this dark, evil father figure that was always on the undercurrent of any good deed they did. It's almost like a good version of what they did with the Sentry, where it's like every good deed I do is undone by my void. Instead, it's like every good deed we do is undone by our mega powerful despot father.
and people will always judge us harshly for this, and people will always have that in the back of their mind when they're dealing with us, despite all the good we do. And Quicksilver, I always found his relationship to his father really interesting as well. They say, I hate you, Dad, teenage angst. thanks, but also I kind of want you to be proud of me at the same time too.
Yeah, I always liked that idea that you were talking about, where it's like everything they do is kind of undercut by Magneto, where like no matter how many times they save the world, if they ever have like a lapse, someone goes, "Isn't Magneto their father?"
Yeah, not anymore. It's not. That got retconned out.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm retconning it back in. Like in
It
my
should be.
in my headcanon, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it still is.
In my headcanon, Axis didn't even happen.
Although ironically, the retcon was a retcon to an already existing retcon,
Yes.
bringing it back to where it was before. It's like, no, we were created by the High Evolutionary and given to gypsies.
Yeah. But there's also Polaris. Lorna Dane was also Magneto's daughter, and she
one.
gets to stay Magneto's daughter because we don't want to make movies with her, so it's okay.
Not yet, we don't.
Yeah, but she's. I always feel bad for Lorna because she's kind of like
She's always the third wheel.
she's always she's always the middle child, just like
I'm not nearly as interesting or have as many great stories written about me as the other two do.
yeah.
Probably the best thing they did with her was in the lead up to Secret Wars when Magneto still had his book going. She was the one who stood by him and tried to repel the Ultimate Sentinels and everything, and he kind of had a weird respect for her at the end, and kind of, you know what, Polaris, you're always secretly my favorite, though.
Like, shh, God damn it, comics.
Because the other two aren't around anymore, so you were always the favorite.
Exactly, especially since you're biologically related to me now.
And Polaris is like, woo, favorite,
Yeah,
favorite.
sweet, my genocidal father likes me best.
I'm the best one.
You know, it's a family that everybody's being really big on nowadays, the Inhuman royal family.
Yes.
I don't give a shit about them or their bullshit.
They're doing some interesting stuff about them with Black Bolt and Medusa. They have a kid.
Well-
They lost their kid to Kang for a little bit. Now they're kind of divorced, and the kid is quite literally doing weekends with dad,
That
weekdays
thing,
with mom.
I always liked Black Bolt. I always liked his relationship with Medusa. I always liked how independent Medusa had been portrayed in the comics for a long time. Like 70s and 80s, Medusa would go on her own adventures and integrate with the humans. And people be like, "What about your husband, Black Bolt?" She's like, "I don't give a shit. I'm a fucking queen. I don't give a crap. I don't listen to him."
I'll date Johnny Storm now and get that young D because I want to.
Yeah, that's a thing. At least it's connected. Like the Inhumans had always been for me second string supporting characters to the Fantastic Four.
They hung out. They know each other.
Well, Johnny used to bang Crystal, and then Crystal married Quicksilver, and then it got
and
awkward.
that creates a lot of drama between the two, where it's like, hey, sis, it's not, you don't have a problem with me dating your ex. So, well, you are my older sister and the queen of our people, so no, I'm good, I guess.
Yeah, so technically I do not give a crap about that, but I do, really, though.
I dig the stuff with their son, too, because, obviously the different Inhuman factions are all busy doing different stuff, trying to save their people, trying to be part of the bigger Marvel universe, and their kid just kind of wants to be a kid.
Right.
And there's a great bit where Black Bolt's busy running his club, the Silent Room, and the kid's just sitting there like he stood him up for dinner.
Right.
And he's like, this is bullshit. So what does he do? He goes and takes control of Unilux, that ancient Inhuman company. It's like, fine, Mom and Dad, if you're going to be so busy, I'm going to run my own thing now.
I mean, that's cool, and at least it takes him in an interesting direction that isn't related to this half-assed, I'm going to try and Game of Thrones the Inhumans bullshit that I'm not a big fan of. But they are literally a family, and they're a family of they're
weird
culturally-
aristocrats.
Yeah, they're it's almost like the Inner Circle or the Hellfire Club, but they're also tied by their race, or by their genetics, and they're also isolationists, and it's kind of incestuous, and they're we keep to ourselves, and we've been cut off from humanity.
No, we really keep to ourselves, though.
Yeah, all right.
You ever seen them Lannisters? It's like that.
Yeah. So, but getting away from the Inhumans, because I hate talking about them for more than a few minutes. But another family that I always love, and I'm so glad Hickman didn't fuck up, is the Fantastic Four.
Yes, they had a good run and actually, ended on a nice note until we see them again.
Yeah, and what's great is Hickman kept them together, or put them in a position where they could be together until they come back. It's Reed and Sue and their children. and even the Freedom, and even the vestiges of the Freedom Foundation. Like there's a couple of those characters remained with them as they create the multiverse or whatever.
What's cool about the Fantastic Four is that they are the first family for a reason, and they are one of the few characters and few teams that were really written with family in mind. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Oh no,
it's in their DNA.
They were created to be a family, to be together. I mean, like, and what's great about it is the only ones that are actually related are Sue and Johnny. Yeah. You know, like it's just so you see these. What's great about that team, objectively, is that they make up so many different relationships with only 4 characters. You have best friends in Reed and Ben. You have like best rivals in Ben and Johnny. You have brother and sister with Sue and Johnny. You have husband and wife / boyfriend and girlfriend / like strained lovers with Sue and Reed. But then you have like the weirdness of like Sue of Reed having to work with Johnny and being like, I bang your sister and you're my brother-in-law. Like, and Ben,
you're not as smart as me.
And Ben having been in love with Sue in the beginning, and that whole incestuous thing going on. Like there's a lot.
It's a whole big soap opera. Then you throw in the kids too, and you get, Johnny and Ben being uncles too, and trying to impart different pieces of wisdom to the kids. And also where it's like, your dad, he's so self-serious and so tied up with work, but we're the fun ones.
Exactly. You have Reed as a parent and Sue as a parent who are very different and have their own different perspectives on how to raise their children, but also somehow manage to make it work. No matter, like, either way, not having like a huge fucking problem with each other.
Dr. Doom also is a weird
He's
sort
like
of
the creepy uncle.
He is literally the creepy uncle. I delivered your daughter, and now she hangs out with me sometimes.
And I named her after a woman I was in love with.
Yeah, I sure did. I'm Uncle Doom, everybody.
I do love that Valeria then lived with Doom, and he was like, Doom decrees that all children must have ice cream after dinner, or some kind of nonsense.
Some nuts like that. It's like, see, I can be a fun uncle too.
Exactly. Until I get the powers of all the Beyonders and then destroy all of reality and remake it in my image.
But even then, that was all about family too, because what did Doom want more than anything? No, I want your family to be my family, Reed. I want to be as happy as you are.
Yeah, son of a bitch stole his family. Couldn't be original to come up with a family of his own, so he stole Reed's.
I want yours, Reed. I think your family is great just the way it is, but I want them to love me, and I want to be you, essentially.
Yeah, I love that dynamic, and it's why The Incredibles is so great, because
it's just the Fantastic
Four. It works on every level. It's almost the Fantastic Four. But in that case, it's a little bit less complicated, because it's just 2 parents and 2 children.
Yeah.
It's more straightforward.
And a baby.
And a baby. I hate when they introduce a baby into a story. It's always so... It's always predictable and boring, and like anything that's cool or fun has to be undercut by like the high stakes like reality of having a baby. Like when Spider-Woman was pregnant, I remember being like, because when she has a kid, you have to stop being a superhero now, and she didn't, and I was like, well, all right. What do you like? How are you going to make this work? And they kind of didn't, and then canceled the book.
Or is it canceled already?
I think it is canceled. I know it's still going, but either it is canceled or I feel like it's coming. But in any case, like you have to do something really. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be a family, or you have to be a family person in order to like.
It's true.
Figure out like, okay, how am I gonna make Spider-Woman be like. And because she's not just a superhero, like she puts on a cape and fights like Dr. Doom. Like she's got to like she's a spy and a murderer and a like infiltrator, and she's got to like
lots of stuff.
Do some high stakes crazy shit. Like it's just nuts. When you someone has to be like, how do you when you have a kid you have to stop being a superhero. Damian Wayne is not a child.
No, he is a little man in a child's body,
and it is grotesquely irresponsible for him to have put a Robin costume on him. That said, Damian Wayne was forged in the fires of murder and like indoctrination
and the League of Assassins.
Yeah, like
and everything.
His mother was the leader of the League of Assassins and forged him like tempered steel by murderers and thieves into a weapon.
A kind of shitty parent, a kind of shitty role model.
He's a dipshit because he was raised horribly, and
yet it's kind of that whole nurture versus nature thing too, where Batman's like, no, I can win you back to the good side. Just give me a minute, I can win you back.
Batman literally did the exact same thing as Talia, only he's pointing it in the direction of
different
good.
direction.
He's just like, you are no you, and like maybe that's what it is. Like if we ever got into Batman's head, he's like, no, this child is a weapon, and no amount of ice cream and hugs is gonna make him better. But if I point him at bad guys, at least he'll be doing some good shit.
That's why I liked the mother villain from Batman and Robin Eternal. I don't know if you read all that.
I remember it. I didn't read it all, but I heard all about it.
That was her shtick too. She was making child soldiers essentially, and she's like, don't you debate at me, Batman, about this. You do the same goddamn thing I do. The only difference is I get paid for it.
Right. Batman's like, well, technically I get paid for it, but I put all my money, into futures and stocks and money market accounts, so my money works for me. But anyway, what?
It's not all one lump sum, and also I only maybe take one child every couple years,
exactly,
and train them and indoctrinate them into my war on crime. You're doing like a bunch at once. That's just that's just wasteful.
Plus, eventually they get old enough, and then they go off on their own, and they still do my work for me, even though they think they're doing their own thing. Like Dick thinks he's his own superhero, but if he wasn't raised by me, he wouldn't be anything.
I rewatched Old Wounds last night.
Oh, nice. That's a good one.
Because that was my line of thinking. Because from Killing Joke to everything, I want to go back and watch Old Wounds.
Yeah.
And I did. And he has an amazing line there when he quits Robin. When Batgirl's like, "No, I wanted to help," and he says, "No, you just think you did."
Exactly.
That's what he does. He makes you think that it's your idea.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I'm like, ooh, Batman the cult leader.
Yeah. That scene is always a little bit shoddy, or is always hurt. It's always damaged for me because I know Tim is trying to get Babs to fuck Batman in that continuity. Like she's not defending Batman because she believes in the cause. She's defending her boyfriend.
See, I don't think they're together yet.
No, but they're almost there.
Almost. Well, that was my whole reasoning for that's another reason why Dick quit. Yeah. Right there, where he's like, if I stay here, you won't let me have a goddamn thing, will you? You won't even let me
have a girlfriend.
You won't even let me have a normal love life. You won't let me have anything. I need to go be Nightwing, go to another city.
Yeah, which is, by the way, their interpretation of Nightwing. The comics interpretation of Nightwing is much more amiable. Dick grows up. And he's like, and Batman isn't like, well, you should never have left. It's just this weird moment where it's not a weird moment. It's a real moment where Dick is just like, I can't wear this child's costume anymore.
I'm not the boy wonder anymore.
Exactly. And Batman's like, it's a good point, but he processes it in a different way, and he becomes more desperate and unhinged, and then he meets Jason and he's like, oh, a project, and then he fucks up, and then he's miserable. Really. And that work, but it's funny when you have an ongoing continuity like that, it all flows together, and if you have talented people at the helm, it really looks like it works.
They make it make sense.
They make it make sense. They make it work. It's not just that it's obvious and it's solid and it all fits together, but you like the story that it tells.
And they even continue to evolve it now, even with Duke, who is technically the new Robin. They haven't really come out and said that. Yeah. He's living in the cave. He's helping out. And Batman's like, look, I don't need a new Robin right now. And Duke's like, that's fine. I don't need Batman right now. Let's just mutually help each other out.
Exactly. Now, a lot of folk, the Flash family is a big family.
Oh, God. Another one actually related by blood. The West Allens, the West Garricks.
Yeah. And what's it called? Even the show is embracing that element.
Embracing elements that weren't even in the comics. Joe West is one of the best secret weapons of that show, and he does not exist in the comics the way he exists in the show.
No, it's true. All the way from, what is his name? Jay Garrick. From Jay Garrick to Barry to Wally to, all of it is all very familial, and, of course, being a Flash book, it's also, positive, and they're
super
not
positive.
No one's shoved in a refrigerator. It's just very it's funny because I always think DC's fuck everything. Everyone's got to have a miserable time, except for you, Barry.
You can have fun,
or except for you, Wally. You guys can. But then they and so Rebirth's actually a way for them to kind of get Flash back on track, so to speak.
There is so much love both in the comics and the show, especially in the show too. By the end of the first season, when Barry realizes, he's like, thank you. I didn't have just one. I had two great dads in my life. Most people don't even have one. I had two.
Exactly. No, I like that. It's really nice.
It's a beautiful thing, and again, too, not in the comics, and they do a nice job kind of paralleling that with Captain Cold, who they constantly mention. Yeah, that guy's dad was a total dickhole. That guy was a shit biscuit if you've ever seen one.
It's true. It's true. What else is on your list of superhero families? Because we're getting there.
Someone mentioned in the chat here, and I'm sure you would love to talk about this. The TMNT family. They all are actually brothers and adopted fathers.
You know, it's cool that that was always kind of lost on me as a kid. They were brothers, but they never really I only got that impression from the first movie.
Oh, definitely. The first movie is really strong. In fact, you could break down the entire conflict of that movie to, differing parental styles. Shredder even says, we are your family.
I am your father.
Yeah, I am your father. He totally says it, and Splinter is teaching a whole nother school of parenting. And at the end, they kind of have to rescue the kids away from him. Again, a little like Oliver, a little Fagin-esque,
You know what's funny? I remember being so, ruled by the Joseph Campbell formula that when Splinter is gone, I'm like, oh well, they killed him because he's the sage character.
Yeah,
the Ninja Turtles can't grow with him still there, and then they rescue him anyway, and it's like, yeah, it's okay. No, you're my children, and I could be kind of in the background. You don't have to kill me for you guys to learn a lesson. It's okay. As
someone mentioning there, it's and who can forget the greatest member of the Ninja Turtles family, Venus, the Forgotten Turtle?
Let's continue to forget Venus and just focus on the fact that these four brothers all kind of represent a different personality trait.
They are the four humors. They are the four personality types you will meet in in the real world.
Yeah, it's true. And it's funny. Did you see the Max Landis pitch for Ninja Turtles 2?
No, I didn't. I'm sure it was good, though.
It's fucking solid. And it's funny because it's for Ninja Turtles 2, Michael Bay's Ninja Turtles 2.
Right,
which
building off
is
that.
Already garbage. The first one was garbage. Second one was not as hot garbage. The garbage was
a less smelly garbage.
Yes, it was not August when the garbage was let out, but
the dumpster fire had gone out just a little bit, and there were still a couple embers, but you could actually pick.
There was a rainstorm, but his TMNT 2 was I was like, that's because he's it's four people who have nothing in common, and so they would not get along, and they would want their own lives. But the fact that they are family brings them back together, and it's okay, and I will spare you the pitch. Just watch it. It's on YouTube. He does a whole thing. He plays music. It is. I felt like such a toolbox for being as into it as I was.
Oh, I know that dude has a real power as a storyteller to get you into. It's why am I so in love with just watching this one dude talk about his pitch?
And by the way, the things that he pitches are kind of obvious, but with the music and with his passion and with the fact that it's really about the Ninja Turtles, I'm in. That's awesome. But yeah, stupid. Yeah, actually, I was gonna say speaking of family, Bebop and Rocksteady became the best married couple that I've ever seen in a Ninja Turtles movie so far.
It was a bold move to have a warthog and a rhino as lovers in the new movie, but they did it.
It really works. Those two are the most supportive people on the planet for each other. They love each other so much, and it's so
I wish
endearing.
I knew how to quit you, Bebop. I wish I knew how to quit you, Rocksteady.
Oh, Brokeback Mountain, that's my favorite movie. That's my favorite movie. Bro hug and bro make out. It's just adorable. I love those two, and I would watch a whole movie just about those two being so into each other. But
let us buy bed and breakfast. We'll open it up.
Oh my God, we'll go to Stars Hollow.
Oh, look, there's your pitch right there. $1 billion idea right there. Whole franchise. All sorts of crazy characters who would come through their bed and breakfast.
Exactly. Somebody asked about what about the X-Men family? I'm the X-Men are the worst family. They're Thanksgiving every day.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh God, him again.
Yeah, everyone is him again. No one likes each other. They barely tolerate each other. They can't even make one baseball game work without a Sentinel attack.
Me too, but sometimes they play baseball though.
Yeah,
and that's pretty good.
You know what? Every time I read it, I'm like, yay, a fucking break from all the high drama and like self-important nonsense these X-Men do.
Remember I Wish You a Morlock Christmas from the cartoon where Jean and Gambit are just fighting over how to make the dinner?
Yes.
That's pretty great. I think that's a perfect encapsulation of it's awkward Christmas, it's awkward Thanksgiving every day.
Yeah. Somebody wants to talk about Wolverine's family. I guess like Daken and
X-23.
X-23. People get mad at me for using X-23 and not Laura because they're like, X-23 dehumanizes her. Her name is Laura and she's I'm like, that's
it's her code name, though.
Dude, that's I don't like. Look, when I got into comics, she was X-23. All right, that's what I'm gonna call her. I'm sorry, but it is Laura. She is a human. Like
I would say the Wolverine family is the perfect example of a dysfunctional family, and then I guess you get like Romulus too, who might have been his father.
For me, Wolverine works best with no family. Ever. Like for me, when I was growing up, Wolverine's family was maybe Sabretooth.
Yeah.
And that was it.
How dysfunctional is that?
It was just maybe Sabretooth because this big pain in the ass, hairier Wolverine would show up on his birthday and just kick his ass and then disappear. And I was like, that's fucking cool and mysterious and dark. But then they're like, no, and he has this stupid, annoying son who's really terrible and needs to die and shouldn't have existed, and they've never done anything interesting or good with this character. And even like the best Daken story is nowhere close to like worth having Wolverine discover that he had a son. Like
even the most mediocre Wolverine story is still better than the best Daken story.
Exactly. The best Daken story is him when he kills Punisher. Like
that's the one.
That's it. And you could have had Wolverine do that when he was like an enemy of the state. You could have just enemy of the stated Wolverine again and had him kill Punisher and move on.
I mean, too, with Daken, it's just like, he's got like the 3 claws and everything. They might as well just be edges because he's such an edgelord.
Oh my god. But I don't really count Wolverine as a family. Although, you know what I will say? Wolverine is funny because he kind of like adopts a surrogate daughter every 10 years.
He does, doesn't he?
Or a sidekick? I don't really know because like
he upgrades to a new model every couple of years.
Yeah, and I remember everybody was always like, oh, like Wolverine is totally like sexing up Jubilee, and I'm like, no, you read one issue where they're actually together, and it's not like that. Even the movie makers were like, yeah, right, she's in love with him. Like, no. Wolverine takes on like a protege, more or less. Like he takes the most innocent character from the X-Men, and he teaches them through like a slow burn how to deal with the horrors of reality,
the harshness of life.
That's a really cool idea, and it's something that they don't really explore enough.
Well, again, too, about Wolverine family, in the Old Man Logan future, he does have a wife.
Yes, he does.
He does have kids. And even in Old Man Logan now, they're showing flashbacks being like, no, they had a big, long life before you eventually caught up with them in the Unforgiven future.
I don't think that they're even characters. Like, I don't like with the flashbacks or flash
They're
forwards.
like Mad Max's family or
yeah, they're Clint Eastwood's family in
or
Unforgiven.
Death Wish's family. Yeah.
Like, they are plot devices. They're the thing that Wolverine wants most, so they take it away from him so that he can be cool. Like, that's it.
I just said Death Wish's family. Yeah, you know Death Wish from the movie Death
Wish?
Yeah,
you know Death Wish?
That's what he was called,
He
right?
should just be called Death Wish, because that's what he is.
It's like Rambo, right? Rambo from the movie Rambo.
Exactly.
And Payback, Mel Gibson's character from the movie Payback.
Exactly. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of families that are explored and that somehow survived the dreaded editorial, writing on the wall that is no families or no aging of the characters, despite the fact that
it's another interesting one. I just want to bring it up now. Yeah. Tevye brought this one up in the chat there. Wonder Woman's family, the Amazons, because she's technically the only child. She has a mother. She was kind of raised by a whole island's worth of women who never age.
It's true. So she really does have the largest family on the planet. Like, it's just her raised by an army of Amazonian warriors.
Which is what I think bugged the crap out of me in the Azzarello years, when it's like, nah, she's just the daughter of Zeus. That's all it is. They fight her on the island. They're all the same age. There's a bunch of Amazon kids. I'm like, well, that makes her less special, and that makes her whole origin thing less idealistic,
Yeah. So there are a lot of families that have been explored and that exist and that are awesome and super cool. We will get to them, I think, in a sequel episode.
This is a big topic. I'm sure there's some huge ones that we're missing.
I really want to talk about like Cap and Vision and everything else. Like,
exactly, is Cap technically a family? Because Bucky is sort of his son, and then they grow to be the same age at a certain point, and then there's all the other stuff going on with him.
The AmeriCorps, as I call them. The Pims. You could also get into DC.
Oh God, the Pims.
There's so much, but we're gonna wrap it up with the Spider-Man family because it's the one that I like that inspired the idea. Because I'm like, hey, yeah, that's right. Renew Your Vows is getting a new series.
When you say the Spider-Man family, what Spider-Man family? There is no Spider-Man family that exists in the main universe.
No, he does have a family. Aunt May. That's true. Like,
and step uncle too at some point.
Yeah, he's very inspirational and useful and totally adds a lot to the Spider-Man character and the world.
Hey, they might kill him.
I don't doubt it. I mean,
because he's not going to be in the new movie, so we got to get it ready for the new movie. Aunt May needs to be single again. Sorry, Jameson's dad, time to die.
And maybe we'll young her up. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what the hell they're doing over there, but
they'll shoot her up with whatever cat. Kobik will pay a visit to Aunt May, and Aunt May will get to be young again.
But she'll also be an agent of Hydra, so because she and Captain America are the same age, and she's like, oh God. So
hey Peter, you want some wheat cakes? Hail Hydra. Wait, what was that? Aunt May? Oh, nothing.
Oh, nothing yet.
Hail Hydra.
But Spider-Man has had an extensive family. They've called it the Spider family forever. The idea of Peter Parker, Uncle Ben, Aunt May, but then you also have Mary Jane, and then you have Gwen Stacy and the Stacy family, or the Osborns, or
talk about another dysfunctional ass family, the Osborns.
Either one. But yeah,
yeah, I know, right? Norman had a shitty, dysfunctional one, and now that Harry is a dad, he's actually got 2 kids with 2 different women, which is something you don't see very often, and him just trying to make that work. That's probably some of my favorite stuff of the current Dan Slott run. Hey, what's happening with the Osborn Allens right now?
Yeah, it's true. Oh, the Allens, friggin' the Brants with Betty and her brother and his the Molten Man and the leads. There's so much. Everything's of course a huge soap opera with Spider-Man, but
Kingpin's family, the Fisks,
Vanessa, who's dead, and then they brought her back, and then he killed her again. He's like, no, I don't want her back.
And his son, the Rose. Remember that when his son became the Rose?
Oh yeah. I remember being like, what is the deal with the Rose? Hey, guess what? Nothing.
It's an identity no one was using, so it's mine now.
You also have Mattie Franklin and all that stuff. Spider-Man's family is a whole episode unto itself, but the one I wanted to focus on was the fact that Spider-Man is one of those characters who's not allowed to have his own family because he's too popular or too profitable conceptually, according to editorial, as a younger person. Yep. So, we went from, I remember in the 90s when Mary Jane, first of all, was a wife of Peter Parker, and then became pregnant. And I remember Peter Parker's reaction was he literally bounced off the walls with joy because he's like, I'm in my late 20s, early 30s. This is the thing this is a treasure.
It's the hip happening thing now.
This is a good thing.
Which is another thing someone in the chat brought up, this idea that most people nowadays, if they're going to get married, they're going to get married young is the thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. What's interesting about today's everything is that you could do, it doesn't matter. You could be 47 and then get married, and it doesn't. There's no rules or labels anymore.
Mm-hmm. Heck, even in stories too, it's what about someone who got married? It didn't work out, but they got married to someone else. Where it's I needed to get that first relationship out of the way,
right?
So I could do better on the second one.
Yeah, there's lots of different levels to family and what that means. But it's interesting how Marvel said, okay, this is not going to work for us. We're not going to be able to have him have a family. So they took away the kid, and then they did a what if issue, and they brought the kid out in an alternate reality book where they're like, here you go. And then the fans went nuts and launched Mayday Parker's ongoing career where she spawned a whole universe of stories.
Our friend Comic Uno loves Mayday Parker.
She is Mayday Parker. But that level of know you're wrong, to the point where they created a whole alternate reality to tell her stories. Then when they canceled that because look, the vocal minority is still the minority.
I stopped reading Web Warriors, but did Mayday Parker get to join that?
I thought she did. I didn't. I never started because it was such a terrible book.
Web Warriors is such bullshit.
It's such a terrible comic, but as I understand it, they were working her in. So
I'm a huge fan of the two best friends. They're Let's Players, and every so often they'll talk about comics. And basically, their thing for superhero comics is whatever fans gave them at whatever convention they went to. And one of the guys was like, "Yeah, I've been reading the new Web Warriors book. It's pretty funny and it's pretty cool." And I'm like, "No, it's not.
No, you don't know how terrible it is." But
it's like I become that guy from the future through the portal. No, you don't know. Save yourself. and I'm sure too, if they heard me talking about video games, I'm sure they would think the same way.
Like, what? No, you're
Call of Duty. What?
Yeah. Nobody's playing that game anymore. But
I don't play Call of Duty. I maybe buy one Call of Duty every couple years.
I haven't bought Call of Duty since COD 2. But
nice.
No, Ghosts. We got Ghosts because it was like $1.
That's the thing.
On like Black Friday. And by the way, it was a lot of fun. I kind of dug it. But like,
oh yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's only why you need to buy a Call of Duty every couple of years, because they're basically the same damn game. So for a good bargain and enjoy the hell out of it.
It's like a FIFA game. But
I bought the Kevin Spacey one because I'm like, dude, fucking Kevin Spacey's the villain in this. I gotta see this, and it's exactly like you think it would be.
Yeah, it's his character from House of Cards.
It's just him from House of Cards. And I love, too, it's like he's like ironically, he's your father figure in the beginning because his son dies, and so he adopts your player character.
Okay.
It's kind of like, you're my new son now. And I'm like, but you're Kevin Spacey. You're going to be the villain by the end of this.
Yeah, and I'll have to destroy you. But
yep, that's what happened.
But with respect to Spider-Man and his family, Renew Your Vows was a book that they were like, clearly just, it was nothing to do with Secret Wars. It was a Secret War tie-in. Nothing to do with Secret Wars. It was obviously just a
test the water.
Is this something people want? I'm sick of
for this.
I know that I'm tweeted that you hate single Spider-Man every single day.
Every day of the week.
But just like comments on a Ghostbusters trailer, that's a very, very small minority. And I want to actually get empirical data that supports what exactly people are talking about and what they really want. And Renew Your Vow sold like gangbusters.
Oh yeah, it did. And it was pretty good too.
And it was a good story. It had its faults, but like it was all right. But what's funny is it sold so well that people were like, it sold too well, there's no way they can ignore it.
Yeah,
and
really.
Some people were like, maybe they'll fold it in. Maybe they'll be like, no, you know what? Screw it. We're going to in continuity this shit. And they didn't, but they did announce a new series called Renew Your Vows, which I'm guessing
written
is
by Jerry Conway, an old school Spider-Man writer, which is pretty huge.
I am so on board for Jerry Conway writing a Spider-Man book, but
he wrote one, but it was more focused on another Spider-Man character, the
Carnage.
Spiral. Yeah.
Oh, Spiral, yeah, too.
The Spiral was actually pretty damn good by the end. It was about who is that lady? She's an Asian cop and she's a friend of Spider-Man. The Wraith.
Wraith. Yeah, Wraith.
It was a story more about the Wraith, but it was pretty cool, though.
Wasn't she related to Jean DeWolf in some way?
Yeah, they were kind of moving her into that role.
I think they were implying that she's real, or that it was Jean DeWolf, but then it turns out it wasn't.
Oh yeah, there was a great line at the end of it, which still tells me after all these years that Jerry Conway totally has it as a writer. He sees the Wraith go down this dark path, and Spider-Man is trying to be like the angel on her shoulder, and he says this amazing line where he's like, in life sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down, but most go round and round like a spiral. And I'm like, dude, that's cool. Deep. Hashtag 4Deep me.
Nice. But the book is coming out. We're gonna see Spider-Man with his own family. But what's ironic is they killed the older people of his family. Like Aunt May is dead in that universe. Yep. Aunt Anna is dead, and I guess died first because the kid is named after Aunt Anna.
That's true.
And there's just it's interesting what they traded for what they got and where they're going with it. Because like it couldn't be enough that like Spider-Man has a wife, a kid, and the older generation. It's just this family and where we're going to go with it.
Because if he has the older generation, he'll be tempted to be like, hey, Aunt May, can you watch the kid for a bit while I go Spider-Man?
Yeah, no, we gotta play with the irony. And it's like funny because I was talking about how it's like you can't be a superhero and have a kid, and that was Joe Quesada's retcon of the reason why One More Day happened in the first place, is because like it's irresponsible of us to have a kid if you're going to be Spider-Man forever. And it's like, right on, fair point. Renew Your Vows is like, never mind. We'll see where that goes.
The kid will be a hero too, and you can train her to carry up the mantle.
Yeah, that won't be totally... That will be a total clusterfuck, but I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
I'm interested to see where it goes, yeah.
But that's the thing. I want to know where that goes, and with Jerry Conway, it's like, well, at least it'll be written great. Like at least it'll be have a good writing, and we'll see where that goes. I can't wait to see where that goes because like it's going to be really interesting, like it or not.
And true with this universe, didn't Region like kill every other superhero or kill damn near everyone except for like Hawkeye and Power Pack?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we need to fill the gap.
It's going to be a very small universe. Although, hey, maybe because you don't know at what time in the future this happened, and if Spider-Man had kids, how do you know that like Sharon Carter and Captain America didn't have a kid, and so on and so forth?
Oh no, it was a great opportunity to like explore that. I think what they're going to do though is it's just going to be like, no, it's just regular time. It's just that they had the kid. Like
it's a what if in that. Yeah, because everyone else was wearing the same costumes and everything.
Yeah.
I did like Clinton Barton, agent or like head
director of Shield.
Director of Underground Shield, and of course he's missing an eye too. And I'm like, man, is that what you got to do when you get like the parking space and the executive bathroom keys to Shield? You got to jab out one of your eyes.
I would have been okay with him missing an arm, and that's his missing piece. And he has to have like a bionic thing. I don't know, but
Green Arrow already owns that.
I was gonna say that feels very Green Arrow, but you know what, like. Whatever, you were stealing from everything for that book. You might as well just go for broke.
You're stealing his liberal politics now for Occupy Avengers by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's true. So, like we said, there's so many more. I mean, like even Deadpool has his own family that we could explore.
Deadpool is a dad now too to a kid,
and seeing it in that Spider-Man Deadpool book is like really, really good. Like it's well handled.
And he's kind of freaked out to be a father, too, where he's like, even in his own crazy mind, he's like, I should not be allowed to be a role model to anybody.
Yeah, I like that. I like that exploration of his character.
Yeah, I'm going to fuck this kid up, so I can't be nowhere near her. But I also want to be a good dad, too. And so, he kind of dumps her on Agent Preston. It's like, look, can you raise her? Because you're probably the closest thing I've had to a real friend in years. Can you, raise her next to your kids so they kind of become like brother and sister?
Oh, yeah. Or, what's it called? Danielle Cage is going to come back as a new Captain America in that Avengers book. We're going to see what that was like, having Jessica Jones for a mother.
Yo, yeah, what would that do? I'm very interested to see how they're going to spin that, especially because Jessica Jones is getting her own book, too. I really want to see Jessica, trying to balance being a hard-bitten private investigator and also having a kid.
We almost got that in Powers, where she was pregnant, and we saw what that was like, and she was, it was interesting. I can't wait to see how that turns out. I also like that Bendis can't help himself. She's in Miles Morales' book.
I know, I love that so much.
That was when she said, "I'm hiring the private investigator." I'm like, "Yep, I know who that is." And then they made the full page reveal. I'm like, "Yeah, moving on."
I think we joked about that like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
When you're like, yeah, it's the Bendis bunch. It's only going to be a matter of time. If he's already teasing that Bombshell survived the Ultimate Universe, it's only a matter of time till we find out that Jessica Jones is alive too. You wait and see, Joel. And indeed, we saw.
And indeed, but for now, the hour's up. That's our show. That's our discussion about superhero families. And you know what? We found out from these conversations, and we do that a lot. There's so much more conversation to explore that we'll have to do a sequel. So
it's true. I get the feeling we missed some big ones here that I'm sure we could talk about. Even if we wanted to go outside superhero comics to talk about families and other stuff.
That's true. And this is the show for that. So want to thank you guys for hanging out with us and watching the show, chatting in the chat and sharing your opinions and commenting and being really cool and cordial. I want to thank my host, of course, Joel, for being on the show and joining us as well.
Always love being here. One of my favorite shows to do. No joke, no smoke blowing.
Me too. And we will see you guys next week with an all-new episode of the Elseworlds Exchange. And, of course, you can catch us everywhere else. And while I've got you, I just wanted to pitch out this thing. ComicPOP has a subreddit. A lot of people didn't know this. We have a subreddit. If you go to reddit.com/r/ComicPOP, you will go to our fancy schmancy brand new subreddit. It used to be TV Little House, but now it's actually ComicPOP. So
that's
you go way
too funny because I've just recently taken the Reddit plunge myself.
Oh, nice. Well, welcome to the fold, man. If you don't want us to know your other username, it's so easy to just whip one up and jump on. You could be Cape Joel on our thing.
I got it. I already took
it. Good. But we'll see you guys hopefully on the Reddits, and if not, we'll see you on the Elseworlds Exchange. And I want to thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye.